Hello there people, thanks for watching the video. In this video I'm going to be covering a video by Darwin McPherson, 18 reasons why older men are staying single today. Let's see what he's got to say.
You want to know why men over 40 are staying single? I'll tell you why. Because society raised women to be wives to careers, not husbands. And now the men who were once overlooked are watching rebellion unfold and choosing peace over chaos. These ain't excuses. These are the raw, unfiltered reasons men are walking away from modern women, and many of them don't plan on looking back. You better watch this all the way through or keep wondering why that good man ain't calling you back. Let's set the record straight. This ain't about men being bitter. This ain't about men being weak. This is about men getting wise, men getting structure, and men finally realizing what marriage has turned into and what it costs when you choose a woman who ain't built for submission, peace, or purpose. And if you're one of those women thinking, well, maybe he just can't handle a strong woman, sit tight. You're about to find out he didn't lose interest. He gained clarity. First reason, divorce destroys a man's life. Older men have seen it too many times. Good men getting gutted in court. He loses his house, he loses his pension, his legacy, and she walks away with half his world for bringing nothing but attitude to the table. Why would any man jump into a legal system?
And that's the thing, I think everybody can agree, or, most people who can observe reality can agree that women are very material based. That's all they seem to think about. And they'll deny it, and they'll give you all this. But I think we've all seen enough. And there's so many horror stories. Women divorcing men, taking them to the cleaners and leaving them in the gutter. That's the reality.
Designed to reward rebellion and punish masculinity. Reason number two, there ain't no wives left. Just women with Wi-Fi and wigs. Let's be real. Men aren't seeing helpmeets anymore. They're seeing overweight, masculine, overly opinionated, sexually entitled women with teenage kids and zero submission. You think a 45-year-old man who's built structure wants to babysit dysfunction? No. He's dodging destruction, not avoiding love. Reason number three, peace over problems. Every time. Men are realizing something dangerous to the modern women. Their peace is more valuable than your presence. Why invite drama into a house that's already quiet, clean, and under control? A real man doesn't.
And that's true. These women overvalue themselves and they bring nothing but drama, attitude, and chaos. And men fundamentally have enough chaos in their life. They look to women for the peace. Whereas the modern women is the opposite. They bring so much chaos, so much complications, and so much headaches and heartaches. It's just not worth the hassle.
Chase chaos just because he's lonely. Reason number four, most of y'all ain't wives. You're just performing until you get to the altar. Men are waking up to the bait and switch. You cook during the dating phase, smile during engagement, and once the ring landed, you turn into his opposition, not his support. Older men now see it coming from a mile away, and they're choosing out before they get dragged in. Reason number five.
And that's the thing, the older a guy gets, the more experience he has with a woman, the less he tolerates, and you have to understand that it's women who are emotional, it's women who are all over the place. Yeah, you can get men who are like that, but generally men live in logic and women live in emotion, so generally women are more all over the place than men, and that's the reality,
Masculinity is now considered a threat. We live in a culture where structure, headship, and strength are labeled toxic. So older men ask, why step into a system that demonizes everything you stand for and then expects you to pay for dinner too? Reason number six, women compete more than they cooperate. I'm gonna say it again. Women compete more than they cooperate. Men don't want to debate every decision in their home. They don't want to fight for respect from a woman who thinks submission is oppression. If a woman can't follow, she don't belong in a marriage. She belongs in corporate America, not your house.
And that's the problem with a lot of women today. They see submitting to a man as like oppression and slavery and against women's rights, and you're misogynistic if you don't let a woman do what she wants. That's not how it works. Women are meant to follow a man's lead. That's it. It's that simple. Obviously not abusive, but if the guy, his heart's in the right place, he's trying to give you advice because it's his duty to protect you. You see?
Reason number seven, the feminized marriage model failed. The happy wife, happy life formula? Yeah, that turned into miserable husband, maxed out credit card, and zero intimacy. Older men are rejecting this emotional dictatorship disguised as a relationship. Reason number eight.
And that's another thing, do not lead with your wallet or you will just get taken for a mug. Like I've said, and I'll keep saying, If a woman is attracted to you, she will make herself available. You obviously have to be able to tell the cues, but she will definitely be friendly. She'll be, eager to engage with you, or she might even be a bit shy. But generally, if you feel that you're having to push and push and push to get a woman's attention or get her to cooperate with you, then you're fighting a losing cause. You really only need to put a bit of feelers, make a general conversation, and then you know if a chick likes you. So leading with your wallet, this happy wife, happy life, doing everything she says. No, you have to have standards. You have to have your own mission. You bow down, not just bow down to her every demand, and realistically let her know that you'll walk away if she's not playing the game. That's what I'm saying. Like, as soon as I see red flags, even just one, I'm like, I'm good. As in terms of long term, because it's going to bring you hassle at some point down the road. And more often than not, if you see enough red flags, either 2 or 3, it's good enough to just say bye. Because you can kid yourself and say, oh, I'll just look past that and, it might be different in the future. Well, ask any guy or many a person who's thought, I can see potential in this person, just through the image that you want them to be, not what you actually see. But if you actually look at what you see and you start looking at what they are presenting to you, they might put in a good act, but there will be chinks in their armour to the point where you can see they're not genuine.
8. Their value finally caught up with their age. Most women peak in attention by 25. Most men peak in value by 45. And now, older men are finally being respected for what they bring, not just what they can buy. They're not desperate. They're discerning. Reason number 9. Older men want purpose, not pretty problems. They don't want a fling. They want alignment. They're not interested in another Instagram model with attitude. They're looking for a wife who builds legacy, not a woman who won't.
And that's another thing. Women need to reflect on themselves. Women are literally competing with each other to be this sort of everything that men are not wanting. It's like what women are attracted to. So I do not know. It's like women are becoming what they are attracted to. Combativeness, chaos, unpredictability, vanity, being as fake as possible. That's pretty much not what a guy's looking for. Guys are looking for natural beauty, peace, and tranquility. That's about it, and loyalty, and obviously they need to be attracted to them, but guys really do not fundamentally ask for much. Women in the modern era are like a nightmare to especially older men, because you just look and you're like, wow, what is this insanity? This is not what I'm looking for. And realistically, in my opinion, most women are selfish and self-serving, and it's hard to find a woman that is not that way.
Wants to match energies. Reason number 10. High standards or no standards at all. Older men don't need company. They need cooperation. And if a woman can't match his vision, values, and order, he'd rather keep his house clean, his spirit quiet, and his wallet closed.
Yeah, that's it, because as a guy gets older, he's past the phase of just wanting to sleep around most of the time, because that kind of wears off, and then you're looking more for the loyalty and the qualities in a person, and that's when they start to notice the red flags. And sadly, women today have just completely missed the mark on what men are looking for. They're not looking for attitude, they're not looking for demands and combativeness and hatefulness towards men, and women saying they don't need men, and you've got to be 6'2", and you've got to have a six-pack, and that is just insanity. As soon as a guy with any sense hears a woman speaking like that, they're like, oh, you're just, a narcissistic, demonic Instagram model who is just for the streets. That's the reality.
Number 11. He's experienced more peace without a woman. I'm going to say that again. Older men have experienced more peace without a woman.
And that's it. As a guy gets older, he's looking for peace and loyalty. That is the main things a man's looking for. Peace, loyalty, and that brings a connection. But sadly, that doesn't really exist with any woman in this day and age. Let's be real.
This one hurts, but it's real. Most men have experienced more peace being single than they ever had in a relationship. No drama, no arguing, no ego wars. And once a man takes that kind of quiet, He stopped chasing noise. Reason number 12. Wisdom comes with wrinkles. Older men ain't simping anymore. They've been through it. Lied to, used, manipulated. Now they don't waste time. They test first, trust later, and never negotiate headship again. Reason number 13. The dancing monkey phase is over. He used to dress up, say the right things, and play Mr. Romantic just to impress a woman who wasn't even the wife. Not anymore. Now he leads. And if she can't follow, he exits. No performance, just purpose. Reason 14. The dating pool is spiritual poison. Tinder, Instagram, DMs, fake femininity, softcore porn disguised as selfies. Older men are done swimming in this cesspool and calling it dating. They're looking for a suitable wife. Not clicks, submission, not selfies. Reason number 15. Loss of sex drive, or they just avoiding intimacy altogether. Some men stay single because they lost the desire for sex or see no use for it anymore. And while that might seem like peace on the surface, let's call it what it is. It's spiritual.
What happens as well as you get older, you tend to realise that it's pretty easy to get a woman pregnant. And, you know, when you get to a stage and you look around and you realise a lot of the women are trash, you know, I'm not going to beat about the bush, a lot, not all, a lot of women are trash, right? You're like, do I really want to dip my wick in that hole and potentially get her pregnant and be tied to her forever and have a nightmare of a time? And this is why I think that there's a decline in the birth rate as well. There's other factors, but I think that the big factors in the decline in the birth rate in the West is women who are geared for sleeping around. They take the contraceptive pill, they get abortions all the time, and men are just sort of any men with sense are like, is it even worth taking the risk with an absolute mess, a demonic narc that is just going to destroy my life? The blueprint is there. There's enough evidence to see women's nature in the modern era, and it is not pretty.
Decay disguised as maturity. If a man is no longer interested in physical intimacy with a wife, he's not healthy. He's disconnected from purpose. Sex within a marriage isn't just pleasure. It's covenantal reinforcement. So while this may be a reason, it's also a warning. You might want to go get that fixed.
It comes down to attractiveness, so you've got to be attracted to the person, and then also they've got to be attractive inside as well. So you have to be attracted to them physically, but also like on the inside, like how they are as a person. And you can be as pretty as you want, but if you're ugly inside, that's just a recipe for disaster. And this is why a lot of women are struggling. You get a lot of beautiful women who hit 30s, 40s, 50s, and they just get more bitter and more deranged, more set in their ways and more deluded. And they can't see that, I'm not saying all men are perfect, but the fundamental fact is they actually never look at themselves. They just never see any wrong in what they do. You know, that's the big problem. And they think that they can do whatever they want with no accountability. And that doesn't wash. It just doesn't wash anymore.
Reason 16. Desire for freedom without accountability. Let's not lie. Some men want freedom, not structure. They don't want to lead a wife, raise children, or build anything that requires discipline. And while it may feel logical to avoid responsibility, in my book, that's rebellion from your divine purpose. Freedom without leadership is chaos. And if you're running from being the head of a household, you're not avoiding bondage. You're avoiding maturity. Reason number 17. Fear of emotional vulnerability. A lot of men avoid relationships not because of bad women, but because they don't want to feel, reveal, or heal. They've been hurt, so they just stay cold. A man who can't lead emotionally will either become a tyrant or a coward. You don't escape betrayal by shutting down. You escape by building with discernment. Reason number 18.
I have to admit, you know, that does happen. Like, as I've got older, I've got more cold. I used to look at women and, you know, have so much love and compassion and respect and kindness towards them. But now, being through life and seeing a lot of things, you know, I definitely don't, you know, jump at the bit every time. I don't just jump out my skin to, you know, impress a hot chick if I see them. You know, it's just like, meh. You know, I'll talk, I'll be civil, and most of the time I'll actually try and keep myself to myself, because really you do get to a point where it starts off good and then women play their games. And the fundamental thing and the fundamental problem with women is they have a hypergamy built into them. And in this modern day, you know, although you can't particularly say it's all women's fault, because hypergamy is built into them, but in this modern day and age where hypergamy is, you know, on steroids because of, you know, all the social media and how easy it is to connect with other people, that it's literally off the chain. To actually keep a woman happy in this day and age is nearly impossible. I mean, if you notice with women, you cannot make a woman content for the rest of her life. Literally, there's always a problem, always a dilemma. They're always nipping, they're always yakking, they're always moaning and groaning about something, you know. And if there's not an issue, they'll find an issue. You know, you resolve that, they'll find another one. You resolve that, they'll find another one. Until they just decide, that grass looks greener on the other side. Not all the time. I mean, you know, sometimes guys will just have enough. I've been in both situations, you know, where the guy will just walk away, or sometimes the woman will think the grass is greener. But the problem is, women are hard to keep contented. They really are. They really are.
And this is actually the final reason. Thanks for watching. Make sure y'all like this video. Reason number 18. Some just don't want to lead at all. And let's be brutally honest. Some older men aren't staying single because of women. No. They're staying single because they're lazy, disobedient, and refuse to carry weight. They're weak, not wise. They're passive, not peaceful. And they'll blame the culture while secretly knowing they're avoiding their calling. All right, here's my final thoughts on this. Because I actually asked a lot of guys. I sat down with a lot of guys, talked to them over live virtual calls. And I just was gathering data and gathering, information to try to put together some type of solution or a video that you're watching right now. So here's the problem. A lot of these reasons are logical, but that doesn't mean they're righteous. Yes, the dating market is trash. Yes, most modern women aren't wives. Yes, marriage today is a battlefield, but none of that justifies abandoning the assignment. A man who knows his role doesn't run from it. He just becomes more selective about who he qualifies for his leadership. He doesn't stop being a husband. He just refused to marry a woman who ain't a wife. And here go my last thoughts. So, to the older man, if you're an older man watching this, the message ain't to stay single forever. It's to stay single until you find structure, submission, and sanctification. Most of y'all in America. Most of y'all in the United States. Most of y'all right here. And that may be your problem. I hear a lot of men saying that traveling abroad is an alternative option to finding a suitable wife. Fellas, if you have experience with women overseas, let us know down in the comments if this is a great alternative.
See, I disagree with that because I believe fundamentally women's nature is women's nature. And granted, in certain countries, they might be a bit more traditional, but as time goes on, they're getting more and more superficial with, let's be real, social media is literally worldwide now. And it just seems to be getting more and more around the world. So hypergamy has always been there with women. Let's just be real. And I'm definitely of the conviction that every woman is single for the right man. And you could also say every man is single for the right woman. But the bottom line is women get a lot more attention from men. And this is the problem that men have, is it's hard in this day and age to keep a woman's attention on you. Now, initially you might have a one-night stand, it might be good here and there, but past that, women have got so much options that they don't have to stick with you, And, if you've not got the Merc or the Ferrari that they want you to have, they might sleep with you, but then they might go and try and find a guy that's maybe just as good looking at you as you or better, but has got a Ferrari. Now, this is the problem. The bottom line is women in this day and age have got more options than they've ever had in any period in time that we're aware of, right? Because if you take the internet away, it makes it so more simplistic. But now that we've got the internet, social media, hypergamy is literally evolving to a point that I don't think humanity's ever seen before. And although you can put the blame on women to a degree, it really is just a process that's inevitable with all the options that they have. So it is what it is. And like he says, you have to kind of adapt to the world you're in. And if you do want a partner, you need to really vet them. It's not just a matter of, I've met a woman and had a nice conversation and I think she's the one. No, you have to really get to know them before you get serious. You can't just jump into relationships in this day and age, because that's how you get burnt, And especially if you don't know the woman or her background and you've maybe met her on a dating site. This is the issue, that it just seems like as time goes on, hypergamy is just getting more and more out of control, and women just want more and more and more and more, and men are getting wise to it, and they are literally probably getting burnt a lot, and then men get a bit bitter and a bit cold, like you said, and then they just start, sleeping with women for the purpose of sleeping with them, and just realizing that they're never going, or in their mind that they're never going to actually meet a woman that's going to be content with them, because in this day and age, it seems like it's impossible to find. It's like you've more chance of winning the lottery than finding a good woman that's loyal and is going to stick by your side, get to know you for you, fall in love with you, not your assets and your financial and your material things, and, grow a bond with you. I think a lot of guys have genuinely just lost hope in that. And they feel like all women want is money, 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 materials, and more and more and more. And when you get to a point in your mind and you're like, I just don't see women as being content. So that, therefore, is going to entail problems to whatever degree. And that is generally, I think, how a lot of guys view relationships. Maybe not initially, but at a certain point along the way, and with more and more information available to see the blueprint on women and how they are, guys are catching on a lot younger, and they're realistically seeing, when they're hearing 666, like the 6 figures, 6 pack, 6 foot, that's the minimum. Guys are like, well, I'm just going to take what I can get, and they don't. If a guy's 22 or 21 and he's 5'10", he's not maybe got a 6 pack and he's not got 6 figures. He's like, right, well, I'll just take what I can get. I know I can't keep her because, these women are telling us that they want, you've got to be a millionaire with a yacht to be able to keep a woman. That's the problem that the women are setting with this whole telling guys they've got to meet requirements, and it's like an audition for a job or like an interview for a job just to get to consider you to be the girlfriend, when it's not about the organic thing of love, bonding, you loving that person for that person. It seems to be men are looking for love, or most men are looking for love, but most women are looking for business. And that's the way it is. So I'm going to end the video there. I hope that you got some information out of that helped. But bottom line, that's my opinion. And you can agree, you can disagree, that's fine. You can like, you can dislike, that's fine. And comment and subscribe as well if you would like, if you like my videos. And I will catch you in the next one.